sacred day of observance for Buddhists after Vaishaka Buddha Purnima. It commemorates Buddha's first sermon or the first turning of the wheel of Dhamma when he taught the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta or the Dhammacakra Pravartana Sutra as mentioned in Sanskrit. 7 weeks after his enlightenment, he gave this discourse to the Panchavagya Bhikkhu, the first five ascetic disciples at the deer park Rishipatana, Mrigadaya in the current day Sarnath, which is with Varanasi. It is here that the Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Paths, and the Middle Path, avoiding the two extremes, that is, life of extreme indulgence and the life of extreme penance. Commemorating this day, the Mahabodhi Society of India has organized on the eve of this auspicious day a special webinar on the significance of Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra and the Middle Path. Our keynote speaker today is Mr. Amal Abewardena, the Secretary of the British Mahabodhi Society, United Kingdom. And our speakers, we have Venerable Buddhadatta Thero, the Director of the Mahabodhi Research Center, Mahabodhi Society. We have Venerable Y. Silavansa Thero, the Principal Monk of the Anagarika Dharmapala Institute of Monastic Training in Sarnath Center. We have Professor Ramnandan Singh, the Head Department of Pali, Central Sanskrit University, Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. And also we have Professor Ramdesh Prasadji from the Sampurnanda Sanskrit University, Varanasi, UP. I would now like to invite Dr. Saurendra Mahapatra, one of the trustees of the Mahabodhi Society of India, to please welcome our honorable speakers and everyone who have been linked this evening to this special webinar. Dr. Saurendra Mahapatra.
Namo Buddhaya to everybody. With my prostrate obeisance to most venerable Beloved Sioli Theroji, General Secretary of Mahabodhi Society of India, and the Bhikkhu Sangha present in this August gathering. Our President, Dr. Mahendra Singh Ji, President of Mahabodhi Society of India, and all the esteemed speakers. I have the great honor of welcoming all the guests, our Chief Monk of India, who is also the head priest and the most revered priest of Mahabodhi Society of India and Chief Sanganayak of India, Mr. Perlote Sioli Theroji. I welcome him to this August meeting. I also welcome Dr. Mahendra Singh Ji, President of Mahabodhi Society of India, to this meeting, this webinar on Ashadi Purnima. And I also welcome Mr. Amal Abewardena Ji, who is the Secretary of British Mahabodhi Society and who is the keynote speaker of this webinar. And I also welcome Venerable Buddhadatta Thero Ji, Director Mahabodhi Research Center of Mahabodhi Society of India, Mahabodhi Society of Bengaluru. And I also welcome Venerable Y. Silavansa Theroji, who is the Principal Monk, Anagarika Dharmapala Institute of Monastic Training, Sarnath Center. I also welcome Professor Ramnandan Singh, Head of Department of Pali, Central Sanskrit University, Lucknow. And I also welcome Professor Ramesh Prasad of Sampurnanand Sanskrit University. The honorable guests and speakers in this auspicious international webinar on Ashadi Purnima. And along with these esteemed speakers and monks, I also welcome all the esteemed participants who have joined here on this occasion. So once again, I welcome them and I wish this webinar, this Ashadi Purnima, which resembles the Dharmacakra Pravartana Sutra day of Buddha, is successfully conducted today. Thank you once again to everybody. Namo Buddhaya.
Thank you, Dr. Mahapatraji. I would now invite our keynote speaker, Mr. Amal Abhivardhanaji, the Secretary of the British Mahabodhi Society, United Kingdom.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to Venerable Sivali of the British Mahabodhi Society and all the other dignitaries and management committee of the Mahabodhi Society of India. Greetings from London and to all the Sangha there who are gathered and all the distinguished academics and other honorary guests of this great meeting. I'd like to just very briefly explain that the British Mahabodhi Society has been in existence since 1926, but it has been now revived after long years of dormancy. Thankfully also to Venerable Sivali in that revival. He has been giving us some very excellent guidance, and I met him personally in the United Kingdom just a few weeks ago, and we are in constant contact. And I look forward to engaging with Venerable Sivali on a continuous basis. I would like to also say that this is really the start of a journey. We are the British Mahabodhi Society would like to have continuous collaboration with the Mahabodhi Society of India. We are part of the Anagarika Dhammapala Trust, and that those trustees nominated me to be secretary of the British Mahabodhi Society. And I don't need to tell you how important it is that we continue the legacy of Anagarika Dhammapala, who had such a major impact on Buddhism around the world, not only in Sri Lanka, his birthplace, but very significantly in India, but also in other parts of the world, and especially in the UK and London, where he obviously established London Buddhist Vihara. And London Buddhist Vihara is still a thriving temple. We are having our own Esala celebrations at the Vihara to mark the first sermon that the Buddha delivered, and we'll be having a range of talks that will be coming out of London Buddhist Vihara tomorrow. And those of you who are interested in joining those can join it via the London Buddhist Vihara's YouTube channel. Okay, I was wondering if I have prepared some slides. Is it possible to share those across the meeting today, please? Mr. Kiran Lama, should I start the slides or?
Please.
Okay. Just give me a second.
Someone has put the mic on. Kindly, everybody should unmute. Requested to unmute.
Okay, just give me 1 second.
Requesting all our viewers to mute yourselves.
Thank you. So I'm sure there will be other speakers today talking about the significance of Dhamma Chakra Pavatana and the sutra about setting the wheel of the Dhamma in motion. So I thought I'd just share my thoughts on this auspicious day. So as we move into this period, we must also reflect on the fact that it's 7 weeks since the Buddha attained enlightenment. And we must also reflect on the fact that why did it take 7 weeks for him to start his first sermon? And the probable cause is that, he himself must have been contemplating the various teachings that he had, which he understood, and perhaps he felt that some of these teachings may well be beyond ordinary mortal people, and he was somewhat questioning himself whether it is worthwhile to impart the Dhamma to ordinary people. But then he must have thought and reflected on the fact that even if some people, even just a few people understand it, it is worthwhile because their suffering and their path to liberation will be worthwhile. So he took, I think, that time to not just, rely on his own well-being, but to think of others and to think of the compassion that he would like to impart to other people. Because people were, he felt, I think, following the wrong paths. So the first thing I think that he taught in this sutra was the avoidance of two extremes. And he himself had partaken of a life when he was living as Siddhartha, Prince Siddhartha, as a royal person in a palace. He had sensual pleasures, probably most of his life, up to the age of 29. But then he realized that these in itself would not lead to any permanence. They were totally impermanent feelings. There was no liberation from these sensual pleasures. And so that is why he left the palace and sought his own teachings. So he said that sensual pleasures were base, they were vulgar, they were common, they were ignoble, and ultimately they were unprofitable. And then he embarked on a period of various strategies of self-learning. And he went through a path of self-affliction, self-mortification, and asceticism. And some of these took him to very dark places. He would torture his body. He would hardly eat. He would stay awake, not have any sleep. And even through all of these tribulations, he realized that these too could not lead him to the path of liberation, to the deathless state. And these too, he realized, were full of pain. They were ignoble, and they too were unprofitable, just as the sensual life was. And so he came upon the realization of the need to follow a middle way, a middle path. And this is one of the foundations of Buddhism in every tradition, whether you're Theravada, Mahayana, you are brought down to this fact that you do not follow a life of extreme mortification, nor a life of extreme sensual pleasure. You are being guided to follow a middle way. And so without veering towards either of these extremes, the Buddha was awakened to the middle way, which gave rise to vision, which gives rise to knowledge, which leads to peace, to direct knowledge, and to enlightenment, to Nibbana. And then he reflected, well, what are the things that we have to do to attain this middle way? and he broke them up into 8 paths, into 8 tracks to follow on the Noble Eightfold Path. I personally have an acronym called Karma Stew to remember these 8 paths, meaning right concentration, right action, right livelihood, right mindfulness, right effort, right speech, right thought, and then U is right understanding. So these are the fundamental teachings, and these are the applications of these items that we need to follow in our daily lives if we are to reach a path of ending of suffering. And the Buddha taught us the 4 Noble Truths, and these are contained in that first sermon. He gave us the concept of dukkha, and not a word that's not easily translatable in English, but it's sort of captured by the word unsatisfactoriness. So life and all existence experiences dukkha in every facet of life. Life's impermanence means that you will inevitably come across dukkha. So however much you gain pleasure from something, whether it's a tasty meal, a lovely piece of music, a great book, everything at the end will come to, if you repeat it often enough, it comes to unsatisfactoriness. It does not lead ultimately to the elimination of dukkha. All forms of existence are unsatisfactory and subject to suffering. And then we need to come to the realization of this. We need to come to understanding why suffering arises and how it is present there. And it's only through that understanding of its realization that we can reach on to the path of Nibbana. The third Noble Truth is the knowledge of the existence, of the extinction of craving, of the extinction of rebirth, and the extinction of suffering. That is the path, that is the ultimate state of Nibbana. And the fourth item, the fourth Noble Truth, is the realization that there is a path to achieve Nibbana. And the path that the Buddha taught was the Noble Eightfold Path. So this was like a doctor giving a prescription or a prognosis to a patient. You must understand that there is an affliction. You must understand the nature of the affliction. You must understand that there is a way to get rid of the affliction, and there's an understanding of the way to get rid of that affliction. So let me just dwell on the first Noble Truth. The birth is suffering. Aging is suffering. Sickness is suffering. Death is suffering. Association with the things which we dislike is suffering. Separation from the things which we like, getting the craving that we have for things, is also suffering. Not to get what one wants, that is also suffering. In short, the 5 aggregates, which are the objects of grasping, are all suffering. The second Noble Truth is the realization of this suffering. That thirst or craving is what produces our suffering. There are 3 categories of suffering or craving. The craving for sensual pleasures, the cravings for existence or becoming, and the craving for non-existence. The third noble truth is the ultimate ideal, the truth of the cessation of suffering, i.e., the attainment of freedom, of liberation, and the happiness of Nibbana. It is a state of perfectness, of ultimate equanimity. This is the utter quenching through the disappearance of craving, of letting go and release, with no more longing after that craving. And so the fourth noble truth leads us to the path to the ending of dukkha. And this is the way, an explanation for the actions that we need to take to follow the Noble Eightfold Path. It is called noble because when practiced, it leads to an ennobling of human life. It is called eightfold because it has 8 constituents. And it is called a path because it leads from samsara to nibbana. Every one of us can experience this. Everyone is capable of reaching nibbana. And that is the great uplifting message that the Buddha gave. You do not have to be reborn as a deva. You can only achieve nibbana through a human existence. And it is by following the path of nibbana that we can gain ultimate liberation. And this is what he said, the Buddha. Monks, when my knowledge and insight of the Four Noble Truths in their 3 turnings and 12 aspects, just as they are, had been realized, then only do I say that I had realized that incomparable supreme enlightenment, and there across me enlightenment and insight.
शर्ट ठीक है टी-शर्ट पहनो टी-शर्ट हो आज है.
And so this is what we are celebrating today, putting the wheel in motion.
वो इनकम टैक्स में वो पता नहीं क्या पहुंचा नहीं है, ऐसा आज तक हुआ नहीं इतने सालों से, पैसा कट गया.
Please
mute your mobiles kindly. This interruption.
The wheel of the Dhamma Chakra, was put in motion 12 times with these 3 turnings for each of the 4 Noble Truths. To understand the 4 Noble Truths, not just intellectually but experientially, we have to practice the 12 turnings of the wheel.
And completeness in all aspects and regards, and may you never have any lack or meet with any trouble.
I would, if I could just give a small understanding of how I perceive I think we've got some interruptions. Okay, so
yeah, okay.
The importance of the teachings and the progress and the dissemination of Buddhism is reflected in these 2 buildings. The building on the left is London Buddhist Vihara, which was established by Anagarika Dhammapala when he came to London and sowed the seed of Buddhism in the United Kingdom. A few years later, towards the end of his life, Anagarika Dhammapala went to Sarnath and he built the Mulanga Kuti temple in Sarnath. And the reason he built it in Sarnath was to mark the place where the Buddha first gave his sermon. I see a direct connection between these two buildings and the celebrations that they invoke. The Anagarika brought the message of the first Dhamma, and he wanted to bring it across the world. And he particularly wanted to bring it to the United Kingdom because at the time when he was living, London was the center of the British Empire. And he wanted to give back the teachings of the Dhamma to the British people. The British Mahabodhi Society is really the legacy of that gift. We are now entrusted to disseminate Buddhism, just as the Buddha did in Sanat all those many years ago. We are now entrusted to spread the seed of the Buddha's Dhamma across the United Kingdom and the Western world. That is what I see as the role of the British Mahabodhi Society. And I will be working closely with not only the Mahabodhi Society of India, but the Anagarika Dhammapala Trust in making that vision a reality, the vision of Anagarika Dhammapala to spread Buddhism across the globe. We need to make that a reality, and that is what I will be dedicating my life to.
We have finished the Salaha Puja ceremony. This officially ends our live broadcast. I Anumodana with you all.
Sivali, may I hand it back to you, please?
Interruption, I think, from Sarnath Center. They have to mute their mic.
Now they have muted.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Abhivardhani, please continue.
Bhante, I've actually finished I only wanted to speak for about 15, 20 minutes. So I just wanted to reflect on the fact that the London Buddhist Vihara is carrying on the work of the Anagarika Dhammapala, and which is now being led by the Anagarika Dhammapala Trust. And we will be working with other Buddhist organizations, especially the Mahabodhi Society of India, to spread Buddhism throughout the world. That is the reason why we have been brought into existence, and that is why we are here. So my role will be to continue spreading the Dhamma, and I'm very grateful for you giving me the opportunity to address you all at this very auspicious day. And just to say that I look forward to further work and collaboration with you all. And I would like to invite you to all the meetings of the British Mahabodhi Society, which I will always be grateful if you could also attend.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abhivardhani, for introducing London Buddhist Vihara to our members linked this evening in this webinar. Of course, the connection with the London Buddhist Vihara and the Mahabodhi Society is very, very old, and it's nice that it is reviving this time. We have our Venerable Tawalama Bandula Theroji there. He was at the Calcutta Mahabodhi Society in the early 80s. And I keep on track with the London Buddhist Vihara on Facebook. And so nice for you. And we, of course, invoke the blessings of the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha for all success in propagating the Buddha Dhamma throughout UK, throughout the world in general. Thank you so much.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
I would now invite our next speaker, Venerable Buddha Datta Thero, the Director of the Mahabodhi Research Center, Mahabodhi Society, Bangalore. Venerable Buddha Datta Thero.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namassami. What means to the Buddha, the Supremely Enlightened One? homage to the Dharma, the noble teachings, and homage to the holy order of monks, the Venerable Mahasangha. Most respected Sivali Banteji, the General Secretary of Mahabodhi Society of India, my humble salutations at your feet, and lots of greetings from Mahabodhi Society, Bangalore, and the esteemed members of the Sangha, and dear presidents and the felicitators and our esteemed speakers who joined from UK, and all the upasakas and upasikas. Lot of blessings and metta to everybody. What an auspicious occasion today to gather here. And I mean, so many dignitaries and guided by Most Venerable Sivali Thero Bante. And today, indeed, a very, very special and auspicious occasion, which marks the first sermon of the Buddha. This discourse, which the Buddha set in motion at Isipatana, Varanasi, thereby bringing to this world the Dhamma Ratana, the jewels of the Dhamma. And by listening to this Dhamma, not only the group of 5 monks attained Aransev, became enlightened, but also the Sangha came into existence. When the Buddha attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree on the Vaisakha full moon day, then the Buddha Ratana has arisen into the world. And just after 2 months, the Buddha, the supremely enlightened Buddha, out of boundless compassion and wisdom, traveled all the way from the Bodhi tree to Sarnath, to Varanasi. And the Buddha says why he is going. He's going to beat this drum of deathlessness. Aharancha amatadundaving. Andabhutasmi lokasming. Aharancha amatadundaving. When the world is shrouded with ignorance, these deathless teachings will remove this darkness, these defilements from the minds of the sentient beings. Now, the 2 driving features, qualities of Lord Buddha, as we all know, is compassion and wisdom. Through compassion, the Bodhisattva had to go through innumerable lifetime to fulfill these perfections, the paramitas, not only 1 time, but 3 times over, to become the Samma Sambuddha. Now, with wisdom, he liberates himself, but with compassion, he liberates others. Therefore, when the Buddha traveled all the way, the driving force of compassion led him to go all the way by walk to teach the Dhamma. Now, the Dhamma Chakra, we sometimes feel that the Dhamma Chakra is just like a wheel. It's actually a metaphor of turning the wheel of Dhamma to liberate the beings. It is just opposite of Samsara Chakra. Now, the Chakra symbolizes also wheel of life, and the Chakra also symbolizes the wheel of truth. Now, in our instance, in our case, the Buddha knew that the beings are caught up with this wheel of life by the ignorance and cravings through the 8 worldly conditions, the Loka Dhammas we know very well. Ninda, Pasansa, Sukhe, Dukhe, Lave, Alave. All these are the dichotomies of the world. When beings are shrouded and caught up in these dichotomies, and this wheel of samsara keeps on going, now at this time, the Buddha, with his courage and with his determination, with all these power of his perfections, now discovered this path to enlightenment, the path to liberate the beings. Now, when you are celebrating this Dhammachakra Pavatana Day, and by these discussions, not only discussion, reflections on these enlightening teachings of Lord Buddha. Now, these Dhammachakra Suttas, it is timeless. When the Buddha says Dhamma is akaliko, which means it is timeless and it is relevance then, in the past, relevance even today and in the future as well. So it is not bounded by any kind of time limit as such. So this boundless or timeless Dhamma, which is relevant even today in our modern times. We would say that it is more necessary when this world is actually going through so much of turmoil and violence. The Buddha's teachings are very much necessary because this is the panacea for all the ills of human problems. Now, I am being asked to talk about the Buddha's fast vasa, the Ren's retreat, and also the Arahant bhikkhus. That is the theme. But before me, our esteemed Avesakaraji has also already very nicely explained about the framework, the essentials, the summary of the Dhammacakka Sutta. I would just highlight a few things. The Dhammacakka, when we say it is actually divided into 8 factors, but when you put it into practice in your life, how do you do that? Because it is not just by remembering or intellectualizing, we can really put into practice these teachings. When you see through this eightfold path, the eightfold path actually divided into 3 stages, three practical mind training. This is called the Buddhist training. All of us, the so-called, we are the Buddhists and followers of the Buddha, and we are great inheritor of the legacy of most venerable Anagarika Dhammapala Bhante. We should know that how we can become, we reflect on this, the path of training, Buddhist training, and then we can change and improve and transform ourselves, and we can become even the enlightened disciples of Lord Buddha. Just by listening to this discourse, Kondanya became the first one. You know that. Anyasi vatabo Kondanya. The Buddha exclaimed that the Kondanya has realized, only one person in this Kama Loka, in this Manusha Loka. But when you look into the divine realms, maybe the millions of beings, devas, they were all attained enlightenment. But this Dhammacakka, as I said, it is keep on rolling, and even now it is enlightening the beings. When I say enlightening beings, means it is removing the suffering of the people. A person cannot be enlightened and perfected until he is free from all bondages and all sufferings of the world. And when we talk about suffering, it is not just physical suffering. When we experience, say, old age or sickness, or even, body becomes fragile, and then it doesn't support, and then we pass on and then reborn again. These are all the mundane realities. But the Buddha also touched on the mental level, the psycho level, and the psychosomatic problems in the mind level. Also, our own clinging and craving to these aggregates, the 5 aggregates, Panchakhanda, Buddha said. So, when the Buddha said, Katamachasa bhikkhave majjhima patipada jnanakarani, chakkukarani, jnanakarani, upasamaya, avinyaya, nibbanaya, sambattati. That means, what is that noble middle path? What is that middle path? It is not just standing on the middle of the road and you say, I am on the right path or the middle path. It's not that. It's actually giving a right directions to your life itself. That means avoiding the extremes of sensuality and also extreme of ucheda or nihilism or extreme torture to the body. So the putting into practice this Dhamma is actually needs to understand that we have 3 sections here. The Buddha put them into 3-fold training called Sila, Samadhi, and Panya. And these 3-fold training or 8-fold path, they goes hand in hand. The samadhi is at the middle, and we have virtue at the foundation and the wisdom at the peak. And each of the factors, they actually support each other. Support each other to reach to this pinnacle of the perfections, or to reaching that bodhi, or to realizing that light of wisdom, the knowledge and vision, what the Buddha said, that aloko udapadi, that means light has arisen. He understood everything. He understood the phenomena. He understood how this phenomena is conditioned about mind and body and beyond. So the Sila, Samadhi and Panya are very important aspects of the Buddha's Noble Eightfold Path. At the same time, this is a practical training which we all have to be upholding through our daily life. It's not just the monastics, also the lay sangha, the communities. We should follow the 5 precepts, establish ourselves in the path of morality, establish in meditation. When we talk about meditation, mindfulness comes here. Concentration comes here, right? Are we actually putting this every day? Are we doing mindfulness? Are we living with mindfulness or living with metta? And then the wisdom and right thinking. Now, thinking will not be transformed unless we actually train the mind. When you say that right thought, is right thought about, Buddha says that avihimsa sankalpo, abhyapada sankalpo, or nekhamma sankalpo. But these 3 resolutions, sankalpa, will not come unless we actually did the groundwork. The groundwork is the foundation of morality as a way of life. Then we have meditation as a mind training, and then this right understanding and thought will come. Then we can see through the path of purification. Then a purification level starts. Otherwise, we will, how much we actually recite the suttas, no purification will happen outside. We have to work on within our, with regards to our body and mind, and putting this path into practice. So now, as I said, the 60, now the Buddha alone came all the way from Bodh Gaya, and then he was approaching to Varanasi, and on the way he met the Upaka, you know the story, and then this Panchavagya. These 5 group of monks, or once upon a time, they were attendants, but when the Buddha took the middle path, they all left him. Now they were dwelling in... Okay. The time off now?
No,
Okay.
no. Please
I
continue,
need...
Bhanteji. Please continue.
Yeah, somebody is...
Please continue. There's interruption from there.
So we saw that the Buddha, the aura of the Buddha, the beauty of the Buddha, the ever-compassing, the knowledge and the wisdom drawn these 5 ascetics closer. And they forgot the resolutions, they welcomed the Buddha, they prepared the seat, and the Buddha started teaching them this Noble Eightfold Path and 4 Noble Truths. Now, after this discourse, Kondanya alone became Sotapanna. After this discourse, the Kondanya alone became Sotapanna, the first stage of enlightenment. But the Buddha stayed on there in the Dhammarajika Vihara, and then the Buddha settled himself in the fast vasa. That was the fast vasa in the dispensation of the Lord Buddha. The first vasa, Buddha along with his 5 disciples. But actually what happened during this vasa is very, very striking. Now the Buddha meticulously trained these 5 monks, Kondanya, Vapa, Mahanama, Badhi, and Ashadi. They are the 5 great disciples, Panchavagiyas. And the Buddha taught them about Anatta Lakhana, which is again very profound teachings of understanding this non-substantiality, the non-self nature of every phenomena. Which is called this Anatta Lakhana Sutta, the characteristics of anatta, non-self. Now, anatta, we're not talking about atma. We're talking about here is whether there is any self, I, me, or mine in this body or in the mind. How we can break that attachment, that strong clinging to this so-called I-ness, where actually things are continuously changing, things are continuously unsubstantial, and then it brings sufferings as well. When you look through the dependent origination of the Buddha's teachings, we know that how things are actually interdependent. Now, after this Vasa, there were 60 arahants now. How come it has become 60? Because in between Buddha, the 5 monks, and these 54 friends of Yasha. You might have heard about that story, that incident, how this great rich man Yasha is actually the son of Obasika Sujata, you know. And this Yasha and his 5 friends, 54 friends, they came to meet the Buddha. You know, Yasha's story was very fascinating. I won't elaborate on that. But that is how Yasha came first, and then his friends, 54 friends came, all from rich families from Varanasi. That is how during this Vasa, 54 friends plus 5 Panchabhagiya plus the Buddha, the Tathagata himself, that becomes 60. Therefore, after this Vasa, all of them are arhants now. All they are free from defilements, free from asavas and cankers, anasavang arahants. Now, to these arahants, the Buddha gave them a very clarion call out of compassion for the world, welfare for the world. That is the first missionary which were ever sent to this continent, India. The oldest one, in fact. The oldest one. So the Buddha says, Charata Bhikkhave Charikang. Do you know that already? Bhojana Hitaya, Bhojana Sukhaya, Lokanukampaya, Deseta Bhikkhave Dhammang, Adi Kalyanang, Madhya Kalyanang, Paryoshana Kalyanang. That is how the Buddha gave them, go forth, O monks, for the happiness and well-being of many, for the welfare of this world, go forth and teach this Dhamma, which is perfect in the beginning, perfect in the middle, and at the end. And he also warned them that don't go, 2 persons shouldn't go in one direction. You should choose separate directions. Go. You are all now taintless, free from defilements. You are all arahants now, liberated beings. That is how the Buddha dispersed his disciples to different directions. And he himself took his bowl, took his robe, and he also set forth towards the direction of Uruvela. Why Uruvela? Because then these Kasapa brothers are there. The 1,000 Jatilas were there. So this first discourse followed by the Buddha's Vasa and then the 60 Arhants. If we look at this episode, this incidents, you know who the Buddha was. We know that this inheritance, we are so proud that these teachings which the Buddha bestowed upon us, we are part of that legacy. We are part of that dispensation of Lord Buddha. And still this Dhammachakra, which is relevant and rolling now, transforming our lives. And because of the Buddha's compassion, we received this Dhamma even 2000, nearly 600 years ago now. And we also see the great renaissance and revival through Venerable Anagarika Dhammapala. So the unbroken legacy which continued from Buddha's time until our times, we are part of this legacy. We should remember that how the Buddha started his mission of compassion, how he spread his teachings throughout India and now across the globe. So this is the significance of today's this message, and I just spoke about the theme. Thank you very much, Shivali Bante, and all the Kiran Lamaji, Swarendra Mahapatraji, and all of you for giving me this opportunity to share a few words with you. I try to bring out the summary of the highlighting all these and how we can put into practice this training of the Buddha and live mindfully, live kindly, live as the Buddha have said. So with this, I would conclude my this presentation. May you all be happy. May the blessings of Triple Gem surround your life with wisdom and well-being. Namo Buddhaya.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bhanteji, summarizing so simply and so clearly the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, the Dhammacakkappavattana. I would just like to inquire if Venerable Y. Silavan Satero is online.
Yes, yes.
Yes, come. Yes.
So I would now invite Venerable Y. Silavan Satero, the principal monk of the Anagarika Dharmapala Institute of Monastic Training in Sarnath Center. Venerable Bhanteji, please.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. The chairperson, venerable monks, fellow speakers, and audience. First of all, I would like to offer my heartfelt thanks to the Mahabodhi Society of India that giving me this opportunity to present a speech in this webinar. So I have chosen the theme to talk today, initiation of first Upasaka Upasika Sangha in the Buddha Sasana. I will try to throw lights on this subject as my best. As the members of the Buddhist mission, it is very important to realize about the Upasaka Upasika Sangha in the Buddhism. Siddhartha Gautama sacrificed his royal career in the age of 29 in research of best ways to serve his subjects. After his enlightenment at Bodh Gaya, finally he decided to establish the Buddha Sasana to serve not only so-called his subjects, but also all the living beings in the world, in the universe. There the Buddha had established Buddha Sasana on the three pillars of Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. It is called Three Ratna or triple gems in Buddhist tradition. The Sangha was the only living thread actively existed throughout the past and in the present to also to the future. This Sangha community is divided into two main parts, that Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni and Upasaka, Upasika Sangha. Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni Sangha is proposed to sacrifice their lives full time to propagate the Buddha Sasana, while the Upasaka, Upasika Sangha should act as the part-time supporters for the activities of the Bhikkhu, Bhikkhunis Sangha. While running their household life, who take an oath to be refuge of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha is called Upasaka Upasika Sangha. Everybody can believe and practice and teaching practice the teachings of the Buddha and obtain the benefits of it. But they are not concerned as Upasaka Upasika Sangha. Therefore, scholars who is teaching the Buddhism, meditators who are practicing the Buddhism are not taking into the Upasaka Upasika Sangha until and unless they take the refuge of triple gems. As we know, those who wanted to join with this community, they have to take oaths in front of a senior monks, senior Sangha, reciting Buddhang Saranang Gacchami, Dhammang Saranang Gacchami, Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. First, second, and also third time, they have to recite this same stanza to confirm their strong attachment with Buddha Sasana. When Bhikkhu Bhikkhuni sacrifice their lives to keeping on the Buddha Sasana in this world, Upasaka Upasika Sangha should have responsibility to maintain and take care of them. Since the beginning, this Upasaka Upasika Sangha have been giving memorable support to achieve the aims of the Buddha Sasana. The first evidence about the Upasaka Upasika Sangha we find on the third week of the enlightenment of the Buddha under the Rajayatana banyan tree at Buddha Gaya. There were two business brothers called Tapassu Bhalluka who offered crispy rice and honey to the Buddha and accepted to be refuge only the Buddha and Dhamma. They are called as Dvevachika Upasaka Upasika because by that time Sangha community was not established in this world. So they could have accepted only Buddha and Dhamma as refuge. That incident is mentioned in the Mahavagga Pali Vinaya Pitaka, which is one of the oldest reliable sources in the Buddhism. It mentions as Atako tapassu ballika vanija bhagavantang etad vochum ete mayang bhante bhagavantang saranang gacchama dhammancha. It is only mentioning bhagavantang saranang gacchama dhammancha, not sangham. Upasake no bhagava dharetu ajjatagge panupete saranang gateti techa loke patamang upasaka ahesung devachika. Clearly mentioning that they have accepted only devachika, means only Buddha and Dhamma. The Buddha has established a Sangha community at Saranath, Isipatana, Megadaya after his first sermon and second sermon with the 60 members of 5 ascetics. Yasa, the son of millionaire at Benares, and his 54 friends. The family members of the Yasa and his friends became the first supporters of the Buddhism after the Tapassu Balluka. They were the first Upasaka Upasika who has accepted the triple gems. This time the Sangha community was already established by the Buddha. So they had the opportunity to become the first Tevachika Upasaka Upasika because they had accepted Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha also. So they had become the Tevachika. It also recorded in the Mahavagga Pali as Eta mayang bhante bhagavantang saranang gacchama dhammancha bhikkhu sanghancha. There it is added bhikkhu sanghancha also. Upasikayo no bhagava dharetu ajjatagge panupetang saranang gatati Tacha loke patamang upasika ahesung tevachika. Here also it is clearly mentioned in that tevachika. So this is the first time, that was the first time that the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, the triple gems, has started at Saranath. So they had the opportunity to accept as refugees of the triple gems Buddha Dhamma Sangha. This is to be noted that the first Upasaka Upasika Sangha had established from this moment, and they had offered their children to the Buddhism as the full-time Sangha members, and also the first residents of the Buddha Mulaganda Kuti and the other facilities to the Buddha and the Sangha to stay in the first rainy season at Benares Isipatana Megadaya, which is continuing till present time. This year it is this ritual proposed to be started all over the world with the support of the Upasaka Upasika Sangha, commemorating that which is started from here Saranath from tomorrow with the Guru Purnima, the full moon day of the Masters. After the establishing at the Saranath, the Sangha community was boomed with all the type of people who was interested to support, to propagate the Buddha Sasana. Scholars, royal families, businessmen, and labor class people could enter in this community without any barrier. King Bimbisara of Magadha, King Pasenjit Kosala, Sudatta, famously known as Anatha Pendika, the millionaire of Kosala kingdom, were the first highlighted characters of Upasak Upasika Sangha. As an archaeological evidence, we find the first record that Emperor Ashoka taken refuge of triple gems and entered into Upasaka Upasika Sangha around 236 years after the Mahaparinirvana of the Buddha. It has found out in a minor rock edict from Bhairath temple at Rajasthan. Professor Halsasich mentioned in his inscription of Asoka as Vidite Bhante Avataka Hama Buddhasi Dhamasi Sangasi Ti Galave Cham Prasadecha Kechi Bhante. It is translated like this. It is known to users how great is my reverence and faith in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Like this, Emperor Ashoka also had become had entered into the Upasaka Upasika Sangha, and he had given massive support to propagate in the Buddha Sasana. There are many sculptures, paintings, and inscriptions discovered from Barhut, Sanchi Stupa, and Bodh Gaya, Saranath, and also Ajanta caves, etc. To prove that how the Upasaka Upasika Sangha gave their labor to propagate the Buddha Sasana. We can see among the Sanchi Stupa sculptures and the paintings of the Ajanta caves how the foreigners such as Greeks and Persians entered into the Upasaka Upasika Sangha community. These evidences confirm the initiation of Upasaka Upasika Sangha and its continuous lineage till the present days. This fellowship has been giving a massive hand to the Mahasangha since the beginning to the maintaining and development of Buddhism in every nook and corner in this world. We hope your support will be continued also in the future. We are blessing for you and your family members to supporting with to the Buddhism, to development of Buddha Sasana, to be good health, happiness, and prosperous. Bhavatu sabba mangalang, rakhantu sabba devata, sabba buddhanubhavena, sabba dhammanubhavena, sabba sanghanubhavena. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Especially, we are transferring merits to the departed Anagarika Dharmapalji and also other members who was attached with the Mahabodhi Society of India and who they had given massive service to the propagating the Buddhism, and also present our General Secretary P. Sivali Teroji and also other Sangha members and also the members of the Mahabodhi Society. We are blessing for them to be good health, happy and prosperous. Thank you very much for everybody.
Thank you, Vantiji, for simplifying and summarizing the role of Upasaka and Upasikas. I would now invite our next speaker, Professor Ramnandan Singh, the head of the Department of Pali, Central Sanskrit University, Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. Professor Ramnandan Singh.
करेक्ट लिखा है क्या ईमेल ठीक से लिखो
नमो तस् भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्धस्से. The most venerable Bhikkhu Sangh, the honorable chairman of this webinar, and all my co-speakers, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to extend my heartiest greetings on the eve of Dhammacakra Pavattana Divas. Today, I'll be sharing my thoughts, and I am told, on the topic titled Origin of the Buddhist Sangha. In this regard, just presented by the Venerable Sivale Mahatheroji regarding the first Upasak and thereof formation of the Sangha. This day is very important for three events. First, conception of the Buddha. Second, Mahaviniskraman, that is great renunciation, great going forth. And the third, the preaching of the Dhammacakra Pavattana Sutta. Three events, that is to say, conception of the Buddha, great going forth, and the preaching of the Dhamma, that is first sermon. Likewise, Vaisakh Purnima is taken as three great events, that is to say, the birth of Siddhartha Gautam, the Samyak Sambodhi of Siddhartha Gautam, and then as a Buddha, and the third event was Mahaparinibbana. Here, I would like to tell you that in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, Buddha says one should visit 4 places, Chattari Thanani Sambejaniyani. That is to say, the birth of the the birth of Siddhartha Gautam, the Samyak Sambodhi of the Buddha, the first Dhammacakka Pabattana Saranath, and the last one, Mahaparinibban of the Buddha. So these four places should be venerated, revered, and respected. So I would like to share my thought that the Buddha is the first personality on the earth who propounded the theory of tourism. And now tourism has become all over the world as one of the most sources of revenue generation. Here in India also, in Jammu and Kashmir, today tourism is the first industry, followed by horticulture and then agriculture. The government of India also giving encouragement to tourism in line with the Buddhist places of interest. And then come to the point regarding the origin of the Buddhist Sangha. As you know, the first sermon was given by the Buddha at Saranath in the Isipatan Migdai. And in the Mahabhag, it is eloquently mentioned, Ekang Samyang Bhagava, Panchivagye Vikhu Amantes, Dve me Vikhive Anta, Pabbajite no Sevitabya, Katmedve, Yo Chayang Kame Sukam Sukhallakan Yogo, Hino, Gammo, Puthujanako, Anaryo, Anatha Sanghato, Yo Chayang Atikilmathan Yogo, Anaryo, etc. etc. And then says, Ete ko bhikkhe ubho ante anubagam majjhima patipada tathagaten abhisambuddha. So here I would like to say this is the majjhima patipada, middle path. If one asks what is Buddhism in a nutshell, in one phrase, then I used to say it is majjhima patipada. This is the phrase. The whole Buddhism can be summarized through this one word, one phrase, majjhima patipada. And then the Dhammacakka Pabattana Sutta primarily consists of first majjhima patipada, 2 Chatar Arye Sachan, 3 Arye Attangik Mag, and 4 as a corollary of this Chattar Arye Sachan, Pratit Samutpad. Pratit Samutpad is the most important theory of the Buddha, and it is well defined by Albert Einstein in his renowned theory of relativity in 1905. So, and according to this theory, everything is relative. So today modern science also says everything is relative. Albert Einstein has summarized in a formula, E is equal to mc square. That is to say, energy is equal to the product of mass and the square root and the square of velocity of light. So everything can be changed. And this also corroborates the first lakhan of tilakkhana, sabbe sankhara anicca. Everything will be annihilated one day. And today's science also says, earlier it was said, atom cannot be annihilated, it is permanent. Then on the basis of research, okay, atom can be divided subatomic, electron, proton, neutron, and in the nucleus, proton and a neutron. Today's science says electron can be, an electron is destroyed. This is called proton decay. So the Buddha's first theory, that is sabbe sankhara anicca, is totally in line with the science. That's why Albert Einstein says one day Buddhism would become world religion. Because as I think, and it is also that Buddhism, that is Dhamma, the Dhamma is the law of nature. And it is an experiential knowledge very pragmatic. And Buddhism, Buddhism is very much in line with the modern science. That's why Buddha says in Tattva Sangrah, verse number 3587, तापाच्य छेदाच्य निकषात् स्वर्णमिव पंडितैः परीक्ष भिक्षुभो ग्राह्यं मदवचो न तु गौरवात्. O monks, don't accept my words as true because it is told by me. So don't accept my words out of reverence. You just test my words just like a goldsmith tests gold by tapach, by heating, niksat, by rubbing, tapach, chedach, by piercing, niksat, by rubbing. Just like you test my word on the basis of tapach by hitting, chedach by piercing, niksat by rubbing. If it is true for you, then accept it. Otherwise, you reject it. So there is total freedom on the part of followers, and this is very, very unique of Buddhism. In and in other religions, in other beliefs, it becomes mandatory for followers. But here, the Buddha says there is total freedom. So the Buddhism, the Buddhist Dhamma is based on the edifice of argumentation, logical corroboration. That's why Buddhism is growing very fast in the West. Buddhism is growing very fast in the West due to this very aspect, salient aspects of Buddhism, and it will grow because it is very close to science. Now, come to the point. The point is that origin of the Buddhist Sangha, as just told by my predecessor speaker, that Dve Bachika, Tapassu Bhalluko Dve Bachika at Uruvela, Bodh Gaya. And then, so the three jewels, the first jewel, the Buddha, the second jewel, Sangha, were formed at Bodh Gaya. Now the third one was founded at Saranath or Varanasi. And then, according in this regard, there are two schools of thought. I will tell you on the basis of research. With regard to the formation of the first Buddhist Sangha, there are two schools of thought. According to the first school of thought, the first Buddhist Sangha was established at Saranath with 5 former disciples of the Buddha. That is Purnima, Ashadi, Vap, Mahanam, and Vadya, and Buddha himself. So total 6, according to the first school of Buddhist thought. And this school of Buddhist thought is primarily supported by Bengali Buddhist scholars. And the second school of Buddhist thought, especially supported and being propounded by foreigners. That is, according to the second Buddhist school of thought, the first Buddhist Sangha was established at Varanasi with 61 monks. That is, the Buddha himself, 5 former disciples, plus 1 Yasa, and his 54 friends. Total 61. So, there are 2 schools of thought regarding the formation of the first Buddhist Sangha. And then, after establishing the first Buddhist Sangha, the Buddha exhorted. This is important, that Charat Bhikkhave Charikang Bahujan Hitai Bahujan Sukhay Lokanukampai Atthai Hitai Sukhay De Manusanangti. O monks, wander forth for the happiness of the many, for welfare of the many, and so on. And Buddha says, Ma ekene dve agmit. This is also very, very important. Don't go 2 monks in one direction. Go 1 monk in one direction, so that the Dhamma would be spread through the length and breadth of the world. So, Ma ekene dve agmit. And then the most important point is, what is Dhamma? In fact, Dhamma and Dharma, there is no similarity of Dhamma and Dharma. Dhamma has a special connotation. Dhamma has profound meaning. That is, Dhamma, as I said earlier, Dhamma is the law of nature. So Dhamma is law of nature. It is, and nature is science. So Dhamma is science. And the term Buddhism is a modern connotation. On the basis of research, the first time Buddhism term was coined in 1929 by a German journalist, and he wrote in a newspaper Buddhism, Budhzem. Later on, it became Buddhism. So, in fact, it is a Dhamma. Then Buddha says, Charati bhikkhave charkang mayekene dvayagmit. Then says, what is I'm going to tell you. That is, Deset bhikkhave dhammang. Deset bhikkhave dhammang. Adi kalyanang. Madhye kalyanang. Paryosana kalyanang. Sathang. Venjanang. Keval paripunnang brahmacharyang pakaset. This is the Dhamma. And Dhamma is always helpful to you. It is welfare. It is helpful in the beginning, in the middle, and in the last one. And it is sathang with meaning, sabhanjanang with metaphorical explanations, and keval paripunnam, complete in all respects, and brahmacharyang, noble path. So this is the Dhamma. So, O monks, go in every direction and propagate this very Dhamma. And then I would like to reflect on the term Sangha. So, what is the meaning of the term Sangha? If you analyze orthographically and etymologically, it is derived from the root ghana, and prefix is sama. Ghana means killing, sama means completely. So, the etymological meaning of the term Sangha is completely killing. What will be killed? In fact, every person has his own ambitions, has his own predilections. So if one is individual, then she has this type of affiliations, ambitions. When he or she becomes a member of the Sangha, then the individualistic ambitions, individualistic predilections, individualistic aspirations would be killed, and the motto, the aspirations, the aim and objective of the group, that is Sangha, would be the motto of every person of the group. That's why it is called Sangha. And Gautam Buddha is the first personality in India, I think, who gave the concept of school. Prior to the Buddha, education was imparted, education was given in an open sky. That is, there is Aranyak, Upanishad, sitting near. If you say Vedas, that is Brahman, Sanghita, Aranyak, Upanishad, Karmakand having two, and the Gyankand having again two. So here, for the first time, Buddha gave the concept of school. That is, Buddha started teaching in a four-wall, in an enclosed place, that is a Buddhist monastery. So Buddha gave the concept of school, and this very concept of Sangha was emulated by Christianity in the first century and the other religions. In Hinduism, also in Vedic religion, in the Puranas, it is said, Sanghe Sakti Kalayugo. In Puran, it is quoted, quote unquote, Sanghe Sakti Kalyugo, that in the Kalyug, power will lie in an organization. So this concept of Sangha is very, very unique, and Tevachika, as told earlier, at Sarnath, it became Tevachika, that is Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, Three Ratna, the foundation of Buddhism. And finally, I would say a very important aspect of the Sangha, that Sangha is regulated by a constitution that is called Patimokh. You all know Tripitak, Vinay Pitak, Sutta Pitak, Abhidham Pitak. Vinay Pitak, that is Vibhang, Skand, Parivar Vibhang, Bhikkhu Vibhang, that is called Patimokh, Bhikkhuni Vibhang, again Bhikkhuni Patimokh, and then Mahabhag, Chulbag, etc. So, Patimokh, according to Theravada Buddhism, that is 227 rules for monks, 311 rules for nuns. Now, Gautam Buddha gave, again I am telling you, Gautam Buddha gave the first constitution in the world. And I have written an article that Patimokh is the fountainhead of human jurisprudence. What is jurisprudence? Jurisprudence is a subject of law. Jurisprudence means a study of law, knowledge of law, science of law. So Gautam Buddha and the jurisprudence is of two types, natural jurisprudence and human jurisprudence. Natural jurisprudence is that nature gives punishment on the basis of trials and tribulations. If you go to Siachen, there is minus 60 degrees Celsius, and if you don't wear clothes, then nature will punish you. So, in a simple term. And the human jurisprudence, that is Patimokh. Gautam is the first personality on the earth who gave first constitution, that is Patimokh, and it has 227 rules, that is articles. Now you can compare. Now in the world, every country in the world is governed by a constitution, whether it is written and unwritten. In the Britain, it is unwritten constitutions, and a majority of the countries have written constitutions. So now, on the basis of analogy, I will tell you in a nutshell. You see, Patimokh is divided into 7 parts. That is Parajika, Sanghadit, Nisagya, Pachit, Partidesniye, Sekhiye, and Adhikaran Samant. Likewise, the Indian Constitution has today, earlier when it was adopted on the November 26th, 1949, it has 395 articles, 22 parts, 8 schedules. But today, there are 448 articles, 22 parts, 25 parts, and 12 schedules, and 108 amendments. Okay, and it's again, I am very happy to tell you that Gautam Buddha also gave a provision for amendment, that is called Ubahika. On the basis of Ubahika, one can conclude any rule. The Ubahika, that is majority decision, Ubahika. So here, Parajika, I will compare on the analogy between Indian Constitution and the Patimokh. You know, in Indian Constitution, there is fundamental rights and directive principle of state policy. And there are 25 parts today. The first part is union and its territory. Second part is citizen. Third part is fundamental rights. So fundamental, first I will tell you Parajika. Parajika means defeated. There are 4 rules in Parajika. First one is Brahmacharya. One should observe, a monk or nun should observe celibacy. One should not observe Brahmacharya. And the second one is not indulge in stealing. Third one is not killing. And the fourth one is not to exhibit supernatural powers. So 4 Parajikas. So according to Patimokh, and initiated by the Buddha himself, if a monk violates any of the 4 rules of the Parajika, who will be outrightly expelled from the Buddhist Sangha. There is no at all reconciliation. Just like this, in the Indian Constitution and Constitution of the world, there are fundamental rights. Here there are 6 fundamental rights. Earlier there were 7 fundamental rights, but due to 42nd Amendment in 1976, the right to property was deleted. Now there are 6 fundamental rights. That is right to equality, Article 14 to 18, right to freedom, Article 19 to 22, right against exploitation, Article 22 to 25, right to freedom of religion, Article 25 to 28, cultural and educational remedies, Article 29, 30, and right to etc. So here also you see the similarities. And Buddha gave this constitution in the 6th century BC. Today world is following this. So if any of the fundamental rights is violated, he will be liable to punishment, whether he is president, prime minister, or anybody. So fundamental rights in India is non-justiciable. One has to be punished if one violates the fundamental rights of any citizen of India, just like Parajika Dhamma. If any of the 4 rules is violated, that monk will be outrightly expelled at all. And the other rules, just like Sanghati says, the reconciliation. Sanghati says other rules. And likewise in Indian constitution there are directive principles of state policy. So this is directive principle of state policy. This is not binding at all. You won't be penalized for this. Just like there is one article, abolition of title, and this is directive principle of state policy. One should abolish it. Just say, my name is Ramnandan Singh. I should abolish Singh. So this is directive principle of state policy. So my point is, Gautam Buddha is the first personality, is the first teacher on the earth who gave the first constitution in the world, and that is in the form of Fatima. So with all these thoughts, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to be before you. Namo.
Sadhu, sadhu,
Sadhu,
sadhu.
sadhu.
साधु साधु
So much,
बहुत
Professor
बढ़िया,
Ram.
नाइस.
I would invite our last speaker, Professor Ramdev Prasad from the Sampurnananda Sanskrit University, Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh. Professor Ramdev Prasad.
लोकगुरुं वंदे सुगतं गति विमुक्तं. Most Venerable P.C. Thero ji, Kiran Lama ji, Surendra Mahapatra ji, Chairman Dr. Mahendra Singh ji, Professor Ramnandan Singh ji, and Venerable Monk Amal Abhay Vardhan ji, Venerable Monk Buddhadatta ji, and Venerable Srila Vansa ji, Professor Vimalendra ji, and other participants who are participating in the webinar. मैं हिंदी में बोलना चाहूंगा. सारे लोगों ने अंग्रेजी में बोला.
अच्छा है, बिल्कुल अच्छा है, बोलिए प्रोफेसर.
पहले तो मैं जो अमल बस 2 मिनट में केवल ये करता हूं. पहले अमल वनरेबल अमल अभय वर्धने जी ने धम्म चक्कवर्तन सूत्र को पूरे अच्छे ढंग से बतलाया. फिर बुद्धदत्त जी ने वाई धम्म चक्कवर्तन, धम्मचक्र क्यों है और उसका क्या उपयोगिता है हमारे जीवन में, इसको बतलाया. शीलवंश महाथेरू जी ने उपासक उपासका संघ कैसे बना और उसका क्या योगदान रहा, इस पर प्रकाश डाला. रामनंदन सिंह जी ने पूरे कहे बुद्ध धम्म को स्पष्ट करने का प्रयास किया. बातें लगभग हो चुकी हैं, लेकिन फिर भी मैं आया हूं तो मैं कुछ बोलूंगा. कुछ मैं पीछे चलता हूं. भगवान, पहले तो ये भी कहना चाहूंगा कि गुरु पूर्णिमा कल है, तो गुरु पूर्णिमा के पूर्व संध्या पर यह जो वेबिनार आयोजित हुआ है वह प्रशंसनीय है, और मैं अपना प्रथम गुरु भगवान बुद्ध को स्वीकार करता हूं। और मेरे समझ से गुरु पूर्णिमा का आरंभ भगवान बुद्ध से ही शुरू हुआ, क्योंकि इसी दिन भगवान ने अपना प्रथम उपदेश इसी पतन मेघदाओं में दिया था। क्योंकि इसके पीछे कारण, क्योंकि जब भगवान बुद्ध बोधि वृक्ष से गया की ओर जा रहे थे, अंतराचा गयं अंतराचा बोधिं अध्यान मग पटिपन्नं, यह लिखा है। बोधि वृक्ष आ तो रहे थे सारनाथ, इसी पतन मिगदाव, लेकिन खंड खंड में बांट कर लिखा गया है। जब बोधि वृक्ष और गया के मध्य में भगवान बुद्ध थे, तो उस समय उपक आजीवक उनसे मिलता है और पूछता है, आपके शास्ता कौन है? को वाते सत्ता, आपके शास्ता कौन, आपके कौन गुरु हैं, कौन टीचर है? भगवान बुद्ध उत्तर देते, न में आचर्यो अथे, न में आचर्यो अथे, सदीसो में न विज्जति। मेरा कोई आचार्य नहीं है, मेरा कोई गुरु नहीं है, मेरे समान कोई नहीं है। कहा? सदेव देव कस्मिं लोकस्मिं, देवता सहित लोक में, यानी मनुष्य और देव दोनों को मिलाकर मेरे समान कोई आचार्य इस लोक में नहीं है। नथी में पटिपुगलो, मेरे समान कोई पुगल नहीं है, व्यक्ति नहीं। ऐसा उन्होंने क्यों कहा? क्योंकि उसके जस्ट पहले देखेंगे, सब बंग जहो तनह खये विमुक्तो स्वयं अभियाय, स्वयं अभियाय, क्योंकि मैंने स्वयं ज्ञान को प्राप्त किया। सब जहो तनह खये, जितने भी तृष्णाएं हैं, जितने भी राग क्रोध मोह अहंकार, जितने भी, उन तृष्णाओं को, उन अविद्याओं को हमने नष्ट कर दिया, स्वयं अभियान, स्वयं अपने प्रयास से। इसलिए मेरा कोई गुरु नहीं है। और उसके बाद भगवान बुद्ध जब उपदेश देते हैं तो लोगों का कल्याण होता है, लोगों को मुक्ति मिलती है, लोग अरिहंत होते हैं, दुख से निजात पाते हैं, भव चक्र से पार हो जाते हैं। इसलिए भगवान बुद्ध प्रथम गुरु हैं, और बाद में उनके धम्म का प्रचार होता है। और उसके बाद दूसरा गुरु जो भारत के लिए मैं मानता हूं, सम्राट अशोक हुए, जो बहुत प्रचार प्रसार उन्होंने किया। और फिर तीसरा गुरु अनागारिक धम्मपाल हुए, जिन्होंने जो बुद्ध धम्म भारत से लोप हो गया था, बहुत संघर्ष करने के बाद उन्होंने पुनः भारत को वह ऋण चुकाया। वह तो श्रीलंका के थे, लेकिन फिर भारतीय हो गए। और इस तरह से इन त्रिगुरु को इस बुद्ध पूर्णिमा के पूर्व संध्या पे नमन करता हूं। अब जब भगवान बुद्ध उपदेश देने के लिए अब क्यों धम्मचक्र प्रवर्तन दिए? क्योंकि वेनरेबल बुद्धदत्त ने कहा कि अंध भूतस्मिं लोकस्मिं आहुं छुंग अमत दुंदुभिंग, अमृत अमृत, जो अमृत है, जो मरने वाला नहीं है, जो निर्वाण है, जो दुखों से पार ले जाने वाला है, उस अमृत का दुंदुभे डंका बजाने के लिए, उस अमृत को लोगों को पान कराने के लिए, किसको पान कराएंगे? अंधभूतस्मिन् लोकस्मिन्, जो यह लोक है वह अंधा हुए जो लोक है, उस अंधे को मैं प्रकाश देने जा रहा हूं, रोशनी देने जा रहा हूं। धम चक्रं पवत्तेतुं गच्छामि काशीनं पुरं, काशियों के नगर में जा रहा हूं, धम चक्र प्रवर्तन करूंगा, और उस धम चक्र प्रवर्तन के माध्यम से जो लोक अंधा हो चुका है, उस लोक को मैं पुनः रोशनी दूंगा, पुनः प्रकाश दूंगा, और उस प्रकाश में जो सत्य है वह सत्य दिखाई देगा, और लोगों का कल्याण होगा, लोगों का मंगल होगा। भगवान बुद्ध यही सोचकर भगवान बुद्ध बोध गया से सारनाथ आते हैं, क्योंकि पहले तो वे उपदेश देना नहीं चाहते थे, क्योंकि उन्हें तो लगा था कि यह जो धर्म है वह पटिशोत गामिनी निपुणं गंभीरं दुर्दसंगन, राग रत्ता न दखंती तमो खंदेन आउदात, क्योंकि हमारा जो धर्म है, हमने जो पाया है, बहुत कठिनाई से पाया है, बहुत कष्ट से पाया है, और मेरा जो धर्म है वह प्रतिशोध उल्टी धारा को चलने वाला, क्योंकि लोग जो है जिसको नित्य समझ रहे हैं उसे मैं अनित्य कह रहा हूं, जो सुख समझ रहे हैं उसे मैं दुख कह रहा हूं, और जो आत्मवान समझ रहे हैं उसे मैं अनात्मवान समझ रहा हूं। तो मेरा जो धर्म है वह प्रतिशोध यानी उसकी धारा में बहने वाली नहीं है, उसकी उल्टी धारा में बहने, यही प्रतिशोध गामनी, और लेकिन यह निपुण है, यही सत्य है, गंभीर है, इसे समझना होगा, दुदृश्य है, आसानी से दिखाई नहीं देगा, कहने और सुनने से नहीं दिखाई देगा, अनुभूति के स्तर पर जाने के बाद यह दिखलाई देगा। ये सूक्ष्म है, इसलिए यह प्रतिशोध गान, ये जो उस समय की जो धारा थी उससे विपरीत यह धारा है, लोग नहीं समझ पाएंगे, इसलिए भगवान बुद्ध उपदेश नहीं देना चाहते, लेकिन सहपति ब्रह्मा के प्रयास से, उनके निवेदन से भगवान बुद्ध, तथागत बुद्ध, शास्त्रा बुद्ध, सम्यक संबुद्ध तैयार होते हैं लोक कल्याण के लिए, और सारनाथ की ओर अपना कदम बढ़ाते हैं। अब देख, जब वो इसी पतन मेघदाय पहुंचते हैं, तो जो उनके साथ पूर्व में पंच भिक्षु थे, कोंडई, वप, भद्य, महानाम और असजी, वे पांचों भिक्षु इनको नाम से पुकारते हैं, कहते हैं, वो आउस आउस कहकर पुकारते थे, समणो गौतमो कहकर पुकारते थे। तब भगवान बुद्ध उसको प्रथम कहे शिक्षा देते। गुरु का क्या काम है? शिक्षा देना, उसे शिक्षित करना, उसको अनुशासित करना। कहते हैं मां भिक्षवे तथागतेन तथागतं नामेन च आउसोवादेन च समुदा चरथ। मां, मां मने मत, हे भिक्षुओं, तथागत को नाम से आउस कहकर नहीं पुकारो, नहीं बुलाओ, संबोधित मत करो। यह पहला उपदेश है, जो तथागत है, जो गुरु है, क्योंकि भगवान बुद्ध उसके पूर्व कह चुके हैं कि मैं सम्यक संबुद्ध हूं, मुझे ज्ञान प्राप्त हो गया है, तब तुम्हें वह ज्ञान बांटने आया, जिसके लिए तुम प्रवर्जित हुए हो, वह ज्ञान देने में आया। इसलिए भगवान बुद्ध उसको शिक्षा दे रहे हैं। प्रथम शिक्षा तो यही दे रहे हैं कि तथागत को तुम, ये विनय की शिक्षा है, नाम से मत पुकारो। आगे कहते हैं अरहंग भिक्षुवे तथागतो सम्मा संबुद्धो। हे भिक्षुओं, तथागत अरहत हैं, सम्यक संबुद्ध हैं। ओ दहत भिक्षुवे सोतंग, कान दो, अच्छी तरह से मेरी बातों को सुनो। अमतंग अधिगतंग अहंग अनुशासामि अहंग धम्मंग देशेमि। मैं तुम्हें धर्म का देशना देता हूं या धर्म का देशना करूंगा, मैं तुम्हें अनुशासित करता हूं। अब भगवान बुद्ध यहीं से चलते हैं। पहले उसे डिसिप्लिन बताते हैं, पहले विनय की बात करते हैं कि आचरण कैसे करना चाहिए, फिर अब धम्म की बात करते हैं। इसलिए जब संगायन हुआ था तो हुआ कहा था कि धम्म का किया जाए पहले कि विनय का किया जाए। तो ही किया गया था विनियोति बुद्ध शासन आयु। विनय शासन की आयु है, इसलिए विनय का पहले संगायन होना चाहिए और संगायन हुआ। इस तरह भगवान बुद्ध ने उसे पहले विनय का पाठ पढ़ाया पहले कि डिसिप्लिन रहो। फिर अच्छा से वो बैठा, वो पंचवर्गीय भिक्षु बैठे, फिर वो उपदेश देते हैं। तो उपदेश देने में हमारे पूर्व के जो वक्ता है उन्होंने बताया है, बहुत विस्तार से बताया है मध्यमा प्रतिपदा को। मध्यमा प्रतिपदा क्या है हम विस्तार में नहीं जाएंगे। अत्यधिक जो काम सुख है, कामेश जो काम सुख अनुयोगो, और अतकिलमथानुयोगो, अपने को जो कष्ट देना है, इन दोनों में नहीं पड़ना है। और इन दोनों के बीच का जो मार्ग है वही मध्यम मार्ग उन्होंने बतलाया। क्योंकि शरीर को चलने के लिए भोजन चाहिए, तो भोजन हमें करना है, लेकिन उतना ही करना है जितना शरीर चले। बिल्कुल भी भोजन नहीं छोड़ देंगे। अगर छोड़ देंगे तो हमें जीवन ही हमारा समाप्त हो जाएगा। दोनों ही जीवन को भगवान ने देखा था, इसलिए उन दोनों में न पड़कर उन्होंने मध्यम मार्ग का उपदेश किया। और वह मध्यम मार्ग क्या है वह भी पूर्व के वक्ताओं ने बताया कि सम्यक दृष्टि है, सम्यक संकल्प है, सम्यक वचन है, सम्यक कर्मांत है, सम्यक आजीविका है, सम्यक व्यायाम है, सम्यक स्मृति है और सम्यक समाधि। इसका जब हम पालन जब करेंगे, वह यह मार्ग है, इसी मार्ग पर हमें चलना है और उसी मार्ग पर चलकर हम अमृत पद को प्राप्त करेंगे, जिसके लिए भगवान बुद्ध बोधि वृक्ष से सारनाथ आए। फिर उसको समझाने के लिए, क्योंकि बात को जब तक कि वह हृदयंगम नहीं करेगा, उसके दिल को नहीं छुएगा, तब तक वह आचरण नहीं करेगा। और उसके बात समझ में एक कान से सुनेगा, उस कान से निकल जाएगा। इसलिए दिल को छूना जरूरी है। फिर आगे बताते हैं। पहले दुख को उन्होंने बतलाया। अब दुख क्या है अंदर नहीं जाएंगे, बहुत समय लग जाएगा। दुख को बतलाया, फिर ये कह रहा है कि ये जो दुख तुम झेल रहे हो, जब से जन्म लिए हो तब तक अब तक झेल रहे हो, क्या सोचा कभी ये क्यों झेल रहे हो? वह बताते हैं कि यह जो दुख है अकारण नहीं है, उसके पीछे कारण है। लॉ ऑफ कॉजेशन को बताया, जैसा कि हमारे प्रवक्ता रामनंदन सिंह ने बहुत विस्तार से प्रकाश डाला था कि इसका कारण है। कारण उन्होंने तृष्णा को बतलाया, तृष्णा है। और फिर आगे उन्होंने इसी तृष्णा में थ्योरी ऑफ रिलेटिविटी को भी बतलाया कि जितनी तृष्णा होगी उतना दुख होगा, जितनी कम तृष्णा होगी उतना कम दुख होगा। अतृष्णा नहीं होगी तो दुख नहीं होगा। तृष्णा और दुख का सीधा संबंध है, जितनी तृष्णा उतना दुख। और जब बिल्कुल ही तृष्णा का अंत हो जाएगा तो दुख का अंत हो जाएगा, वही निर्वाण है। दुखों का अंत कर देना निर्वाण है। यही तीसरा सत्य है, दुख निरोध। और ये दुख निरोध प्राप्त कैसे हो, जैसा कि रामनंदन सर ने कहा कि पठित समुपाद, तो पठित समुपाद का डायरेक्ट तो नहीं इसमें है, लेकिन इनडायरेक्ट रूप से यही है जो दुख समुदय है, कि तृष्णा के कारण दुख होता है। यही अविद्या पच्चा संखारा, अविद्या के होने से संस्कार होता है। अनुलोम पठित समुत्पाद सेकंड नोबल ट्रुथ है, और पटिलोम पठित समुपाद थर्ड नोबल ट्रुथ है। अविद्या निरोधा दुख निरोधो। अविद्या नहीं है तो दुख नहीं है, तो तृष्णा नहीं है तो दुख नहीं है। अविद्या नहीं है तो संस्कार नहीं, असंस्कार नहीं, अविद्या नहीं है तो दुख तो खैर नहीं है। अब लेकिन यह प्राप्त कैसे हो, क्योंकि उनको इससे जानने का कोई लाभ नहीं था। मूल बात यह थी कि उसको वह दुख से उसका अंत हो जाए। तो उन्होंने कहा कि ये मार्ग है, इस मार्ग पर चलोगे तो दुख का निरोध हो जाएगा, दुख का अंत हो जाएगा। इतना बतलाने के बाद भी 5 भिक्षुओं को, पंचवर्गीय भिक्षुओं को अंतर्बोध नहीं होता है। फिर भगवान परिवर्तन द्वादशा कारंग बताते हैं, जिसका जिक्र हमारे वेनेरेबल अमल अभयवर्धने बनते जी ने किया था। तो ये जो दुख है, वह दुख केवल कहने से नहीं, दुख को परियंग इदं दुखं परियंग परिगय है। अब परियातंग, यह दुख जान लिया गया है, यानी दुख का हमने अंदर से अनुभूति कर लिया। अब वो पहले तो उन्होंने थ्योरी बताया, अब वो प्रैक्टिस पर आ रहे हैं। अब उसे तुम जानो नहीं, अब उसे अनुभूति करो। जानाती नहीं, वह जानाती, अभी जानाती के स्तर पर जाओ। दूसरा में कहा इदं दुख समुदयं, और ये सच्चंग थी, तो कहते हैं इदं दुख समुदयं और ये सच्चंग पहातब्बंग और पहिनंग, प्रहान होना चाहिए। दुख समुदय क्या है? तृष्णा है, तो तृष्णा का प्रहान होना चाहिए। केवल कहने से नहीं होगा, दुख का कारण तृष्णा है। आप आर्य अष्टांगिक पर चलें और तृष्णा का प्रहान करें, पहिनंग, और यह ज्ञान हो जाए कि हमारी तृष्णा समाप्त हो गई। फिर तीसरा है दुख निरोध, तो इदं दुख निरोधं और ये सच्चंग, सच्ची का तब पंक्ति, उसको साक्षात कर देखो, निर्वाण को आमने सामने देखो कि निर्वाण है क्या, वो सामने दिखाई दे। और सच्ची कतंग, और वह साक्षात्कार किया जा चुका है, उसका रियलाइज हमने कर लिया। और कैसे होगा? तो इदं दुख निरोध गामिनी पटपदा अरिये सच्चंग भावे तब्बंग अभावित, उसकी प्रैक्टिस करनी चाहिए, और प्रैक्टिस कर लिया गया है। तब ये बातें जब भगवान ने कही, तब उसके बाद पांचों को एक साथ ज्ञान नहीं मिलता है, केवल कुंडई को होता है। आयस मतो कुंडयस विरजंग वीतमलंग धम चक्षुंग उत्पादी, केवल कुंडई को यह धर्म चक्षु उत्पन्न होता है। वीरजंग रज नहीं है, वीतमलंग मल नहीं है, निर्मल हो चुका है। ऐसा निर्मल धर्म चक्षु उत्पन्न होता है। यंग किंची समुदय धम्मंग सब्बंग तंग निरोध धम्मंग, जो कोई भी समुदाय धर्म है जो कोई भी उत्पन्न होने वाला धर्म है वह सब निरोध होने वाला है, वह सब नष्ट होने वाला है। ये धर्म चक्षु उत्पन्न पांचों को एक साथ नहीं हुआ, केवल कुंडई को हुआ। इसलिए भगवान बुद्ध जब उसको गया, भगवान बुद्ध तो दिव्य सोत दिव्य चक्षु सब था, तो उन्होंने दिव्य चक्षु से देख लिया कि इसको यह बोध हो गया है, वह इसको ज्ञान हो गया है। तब भगवान बुद्ध कहते हैं अतको भगवा उदान उदानेसी, उदान निकलता है। प्रसन्नता के जो शब्द होते हैं उसी को उदान कहते हैं। अय्यासी वत भूकोंडइयो, अय्यासी वत भूखंडइयो। कुंडई ने जान लिया है, हे कुंडई तुमने जान लिया है, हे कुंडई तुमने जान, अय्यासी जान लिया है। इसलिए भगवान बुद्ध उसको नाम देते हैं अय्या कुंडइयो, तवेव नामं अहोसी। तब उसका नाम हो गया अय्या कुंडइयो, उसने जान लिया। इसलिए अय्या कुंडई सबसे पहले उसको धम्मचक्षु उत्पन्न हुआ। अब देखें, जब धम्मचक्षु उत्पन्न हुआ, अब गुरु शिष्य की परंपरा, गुरु पूर्णिमा चल रहा हूं मैं। अब उसके पहले वह शरण में नहीं गया था, तब कहता है अय्या कुंडइयो सत्तु शासने भगवंतं एतद वोचा। तब अय्या कुंडई सत्तु शासने, शास्ता के शासन में, बुद्ध की शरण में, बुद्ध के शासन में, भगवंतं एतद वोचा, भगवान को यह कहा लभयाहं, यानी लभयं प्लस अहं बनते भगवतो संति के पबज्जं लभयं उपसंपदंति। हमें हे भंते, हमें भगवान के निकट प्रवज्ञा मिले, उपसंपदा मिले। भगवान ने कहा हे ही विभूति और भिक्षु स्वखातो धम्मो जड़ ब्रह्मचर्यं सम्मा दुखस अंत क्रियायाति। यह धर्म सुआख्यात है, अच्छी तरह से गया कहा हुआ है, अच्छी तरह से दुख के अंत के लिए ब्रह्मचर्य का पालन करो। सावतस आयस्मतो उपसंपदा अहोसी, वही उस आयुष्मान की उपसंपदा। अब देखो, अभी रामनंदन सर ने कहा कि दो स्कूल है, एक कहता है कि जब पंचवर्गीय भिक्षु को एक साथ करके जब 6 अरहंत हो गए तब बुद्ध संघ की स्थापना हुई। दूसरा स्कॉलर जो फॉरनर है वो कहते हैं जब 61 अरहंत हो गए तब भगवान ने बुद्ध संघ की स्थापना की। पढ़ के सुनाता हूं। जो जब पांचों भिक्षु जब आ जाते हैं, तीन खोपन समय 6 लोक के अरहंतो होती। उस समय लोक में 6 अरहंत होते हैं, यानी 6 अरहंत हैं। उसके बाद यहां जो लिखा है कि तीन खोपन समय 61 लोक के अरहंतो होती। तो उस समय लोक में 61 अरहंत है। इन्हीं दोनों बातों को पकड़ा। एक ने पकड़ा कि 6 लोक अरहंत में 6 अरहंत हैं लोक में, बुद्ध संघ की स्थापना हो गई। दूसरा पकड़ा कि 61 अरहंत हैं लोक में विचरण कर रहे हैं, तब संघ की स्थापना हुई। मेरा मत है कि जब हम आज भी जब पबज्जा करते हैं, उपसंपदा करते हैं, तो वह संघ में सम्मिलित हो जाता है। तो सबसे पहले जो शब्द आता है, जो कुंडई जो है वह पहले संघ में प्रवेश करता है। पबज्जा और उपसंपदा पहले वो लेता है, बाकी 4 भिक्षु नहीं लेते। सबसे पहले जो है आयुष्मान कुंडई जो है, जो अय्या कुंडई है, वह सावतस आयुष्मतो उपसंपदा अहोसी, वह उसकी उपसंपदा हुई। फिर उसके बाद दूसरे ट्रिप में वह पस आयुष्मतो च भद्य से, वो जो है आयुष्मान वप और भद्दियों को ज्ञान प्राप्त होता है और फिर वह भगवान के पास जाता है। लभयाम मयंग भंते, वहां था लभयाहंग, अहंग अकेला है कुंडई, यहाँ है लभयाम मयंग, हम लोग अब दो है, वप है अब भद्य है। भगवतो संत के पबज्जंग लभयाम उपसंपदंगति। अब भगवान कह रहे एथ भिक्खुवोति, आओ प्लुरल में है, भगवा आओ सावते संग, वहां था तस्य, यहाँ है ते संग आयुष्मंतानंग उपसंपदा अहोसी। अब उसकी उपसंपदा हुई। तो प्रथम उपसंपदा एक साथ नहीं हो रही है, एक दिन भी नहीं हो रही है। पहले हुई कौंडेई का, फिर सेकंड में वप और भद्य का, फिर तीसरी बार जब में महानाम और अस्य जी का होता है। क्योंकि जैसे जैसे होता है तो बाकी लोग जो है वो जाकर भगवान लाते हैं भोजन और ये लोग खाते हैं। इसका अर्थ है कि एक दिन नहीं हुआ। जैसे अतको भगवा तदवशे से भिक्खु निहार भत्तो धमिया कथाय अवधि अनुसाती तंग तयो भिक्खु पिंडाय चरित्व आहरंती। वो तीनों भिक्षु ला रहे हैं, तेनंग छब बग्गो यापेती, छो खा रहे हैं। अथो आयुष्मतो च महानामस्य आयुष्मतो च अस्सी जस्य भगवता धमिया कथा ये कह रहे हैं। और इस तरह से फिर अंतिम में महानाम और श्री पुरा में नहीं पढ़ूंगा, आयुष्मान और महानाम और अस्य जी ये भगवान से निवेदन करते हैं कि हमें लभयांग मयंग बनते भगवतो संत के पवज्जंग लभयांग उपसंपदंग, हमें भगवान के निकट पवज्जा मिले, उपसंपदा मिले, और भगवान बुद्ध उसको पवज्जा और उपसंपदा देते हैं, यही उसकी उपसंपदा। अगर आप अब ये देखेंगे तो अब अलग अलग हो गया। पहली उपसंपदा तो एक साथ तो पांचों का हुआ नहीं। सबसे पहले उपसंपदा कुंडइयों का हुआ। तो अगर आप ऐसा मानेंगे तो कुंडई के साथ ही संघ की स्थापना होगी। लेकिन चूंकि सबसे पहली बार अनंत पर्याय, चूंकि इससे इनको बहुत निर्वाण प्राप्त नहीं हुआ, मुक्ति नहीं मिली। मुक्ति मिलती है अनंत पर्याय के बाद। तब उसके बाद चूंकि अरहंत नहीं हुए थे, तो अरहंत हुए एक साथ तेन को पण समय 6 लोग के अरहंत होती। तो अरहंत के साथ ही लोग ये लोग स्वीकार कर रहे हैं। जब लोक में उन लोग भी बुद्ध के समान हो गए, बुद्ध के समान तो नहीं लेकिन अरहंत हो गए। बुद्ध सम्यक संबुद्ध भी है, अरहंत भी है। तो अरहंत हो गए, तब संघ की स्थापना हुई। ये एक बात है। और उसके बाद लोक कल्याण के लिए सभी लोग जितने जो 61 बाद में हुए, सभी को भगवान बुद्ध ने कहा कि लोक कल्याण के लिए आप उपदेश करो। देशेत भिक्खवे धम्मं बहुजन हिताय बहुजन सुखाय लोकानुकंपाय अथाय हिताय सुखाय देव मनुष्यान। अधिक से अधिक लोगों का कल्याण हो, अधिक से अधिक लोगों का मंगल हो, अधिक से अधिक लोगों का हित हो, अधिक से अधिक लोगों का सुख हो। इसके लिए आप धर्म का प्रचार प्रसार करो, सबका मंगल हो, सबका हित हो, सबका सुख हो। भवतु सब मंगल।
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you so much, sir, for so good presentation. Excellent present. It was like listening to a great Dhamma teacher, especially Professor Ramesh Prasadji, who was delivering his speech in Hindi, and it was so nice to listening. So my friend Kiran Lamaji was conducting this program, and he asked me to present vote of thanks today on this occasion. Actually, I was traveling. Anyhow, I could manage to listen to all the speakers, all the scholars on the way. When I came to my residence, I could hear only Professor Ramesh Prasadji. Oh, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Residential.
Okay, sir. So before before vote of thanks, I would request our President, Dr. Mahendra Singh Ji, to present his observation on today's program of this talk, especially on the Dhammacakka Pavattan Day. On this subject, we have listened to all the speakers, and I especially request him to present his observation in very brief, sir. Because time is already 9 o'clock. Yeah. Thank you, sir. So, President, sir.
नमो तस् भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा समुदस् नमो तस् भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा समुदस् नमो तस् भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा समुदस्. At the very outset, on the very pious program and on the eve of the Dhang Pavachan Sutta day, which is falling tomorrow on the Ashadi Purnima, I pray with prostrate salutation and with reverential homage to the Gautam Buddha and all his predecessors from Kasyap Buddha to Tanahankar Buddhas, that they should bestow upon all of us the kindness and the wisdom to cross over the seas of the suffering. Thereafter, I pray Lord Buddha to bestow long life and wisdom to our Venerable General Secretary, who is the team leader and the champion of all these such webinar, seminar, Dham talk, etc. He is the torch bearer in this regard in the Mahabodhi Society of India. Thereafter, I pay my respect to all the monks who spoke before me in this program, and they spoke very well, and other lay disciples. They rendered a very meaningful Dham talk. I pay respect to them also, and all the audiences, and moreover, the maximum tribute and homage to the Venerable Anagarik Dharampal Ji, the founding father of this Mahabodhi Society of India. Because all this happening because of his effort. The time is over. Stipulated time is over. So, what can be said on such a pious occasion in some minutes? It is very impossible. And the audiences also must be in the next mood to have their dinners, etc. So, I can only say today with apology, I can only thanks to the speakers, organizers. Namo Buddhaya.
Thank you so much, President Sir, Dr. Mahendra Singh Ji, the President of Mahabodhi Society of India. And he expressed his gratitude and thankfulness to all the speakers and all the listeners also. So today, the Mahabodhi Society is celebrating this function, or especially this day, Ashadi Purnima, at all its centers in India and abroad also. And as in the leaflets or book invitation letter, it is said that this day is also has very much significance for other events also. This is not only the first day of the first discourse of Dhammacakka Pavattan Day, but this is also the day of Bodhisattva entering his mother's womb. This is also important that on this very day, the great renunciation was taken, that is Mahabhinishkraman days also. And the Bodhisattva also went, the Buddha also went to the Tavatinsa to preach Abhidhamma to his mother. And this is also very special due to the commencement of rains retreat, that is Vasavasa. So this is function has many importances, and the center of Mahabodhi, all centers of Mahabodhi society on this eve, these celebrations are being held, many pujas, illuminations, dhamma talks, and many. So on the eve of this day, this special day was organized, that is webinar, in which so many scholars have spoken, and so excellently they have spoken. Especially, we are very much thankful to our speaker who has addressed the keynote address, who has given the keynote address, Mr. Amal Abhay Vardhane, Honorable Secretary of British Mahabodhi Society of UK, that's in London. And they have done so great services to the Dhamma, rendered services. So for since so long, that center was also established by Most Venerable Anagarika Dharmapala. So on behalf of Mahabodhi Society, I extend my respect to Mr. Abhay Vardhane, Amal Abhay Vardhane, the British Mahabodhi Society, and he very well explained the importance of the basic tenet, the importance of the Dhammacakkavartan Sutta in so nice words, so excellently. Then we listen to the Most Venerable Buddha Datta Thero, the director of Mahabodhi Research Center of Mahabodhi Society of Bengaluru. This center, Bengaluru Center, was also established by Most Venerable Anaragi Dharmapala, and they had very excellent teachers like Buddha Rakhita Mahathero and others. So Bhante has not only given explained the importance of Dhammacakkavartan Sutta, but also he gave hints on the spread or the development of the Sangha from Buddha to 5 disciples, then to 60 disciples, the Yasha, and then up to the Buddha Gaya. So how the Sangha developed for the benefit of mankind, he has very well explained. Then we listen to the Most Venerable Silavansa Thero, the principal monk of Anagarika Dharmapala Institute of Monastic Training at Saranatha. His chanting is so sonorous and so enchanting that it soothes our heart and it inspires us. It also it's like kind of blessings also. Then we listen to the scholar, Professor Ramanandan Singh, who had been the head of the Department of Buddhist Studies at Jammu University formerly, and now he is the head of the Department of Pali at Central Sanskrit University, Lucknow. So we have been listening to him for many years, and today he has quoted from the Pali text, many quotations he did from the Pali text, and so he spoke about the Patimokha and Parajika, and also about that Buddha was the first constitution presentator. He presented for the first time for the humankind that what should be the right of mankind and how they can be, or what can be the punishment should be meted to the wrongdoers. That is laid down in the Patimokha and Parajika. So it's a kind of constitution. Modern constitution also owe many things to the Buddha's teaching. So he has said, and lastly, Professor Ramesh Prasad ji, the Sankaya, he is the head of the Shraman Vidya Sankai of Sampurnanand Sanskrit University, and he held many posts. And many times I have listened to him many times. Discourse, it is like discourse or deliberations on various themes or themes related on Buddhism or the basic tenets of the Buddha, not only Eightfold Path or the Four Noble Truths, but all the Paticamupad and other paths. So today also he very well elucidated the topic and told many things. So on behalf of the Mahabodhi Society of India, I again express my thankfulness, not only on behalf of the society, express thankfulness to all the speakers and even all the listeners also who has very well listened. And I hope they all have been benefited with or through these all valuable talks by the great scholars, great venerables and teachers. So thank you so much, sir, all. I am especially thankful to our great Banteji, most venerable, our General Secretary, most venerable T. Shivli Theruji, General Secretary of Mahabodhi Society of India. Yesterday, I had the fortune to see him at Buddhagaya. Yes, I think Bante will give blessings. With his blessing, today's program will conclude. Yes, thank you, sir. Banteji, please, I request him to give his blessings.
Sabbitiyo vivajjantu sabbirogo vinassatu Mate bhavattvantarayo sukhi digayuko bhavantu Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata Sabba buddhanubhavena sada sotti bhavantu te Bhavatu sabba mangalam rakhantu sabba devata sabba dhammanubhavena sada sutti bhavantu te Bhavatu sabba mangalam rakhantu sabba devata sabba sanghanubhavena sada sutti bhavantu te Namo Buddhaya.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Vandami Banteji.
So thank you so much, everyone. Namo Buddhaya to everyone. Bante, with Bante's blessing, our General Secretary's blessings and good wishes. Now today's program is over. It is complete. We wish to meet again on some very special days like some full moon day. Every full moon day we have some program. Most of the full moon days are very significant.